My son's preschool for 2 years.
All right, everyone, welcome to this meeting. Let's see. Welcome to everybody, both in person and watching via YouTube live stream. I'd like to call the board meeting for March 24th, 2022 to order at 6:15 p.m. Let's begin with our tribute. In partnership with tribes who called Phoenix their home first, we acknowledge and respect the land our schools are built on. We commit to being a strong partner with any and all tribal nations who entrust their children to our schools. We are grateful and honored to be partners. Ms. Miriam, good evening. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, hopefully you all can hear me.
I think you said my name, so here, present.
Jessica Bueno,
Here.
Reggie Carrillo,
Here.
Laura Diaz, Alicia Bink.
Thank you, Ms. Miriam. With 3 board members present, we do have a quorum to proceed. May we please have the Pledge of Allegiance from Mr. Olmsted, please? Thank you very much. Let's see, moving on, we're going to move on to our adoption of the agenda. Dr. Weeks, do you have any recommendations for the agenda this evening?
Yes, I do. Madam Chair, members of the governing board, I recommend that we remove item F1 from the agenda this evening. Item F1 is to receive, discuss, and take possible action on the health and safety mitigation plan. The reason I'm recommending that this removal of that this evening is that Mr. Quintana is unable to attend tonight, and he needs to be present, should be present when we have this discussion and potential vote.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Weeks. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda as amended?
Jessica Bueno, so moved.
Reggie Carrillo, second.
Thank you both very much. With that, may we please have a roll call vote, Mrs. Johnson? Ms. Miriam,
Carmen Carrillo,
aye.
Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo.
Aye.
Thank you very much. With that, the motion passes. and we can begin. Let's move on to our awards, recognitions, and announcements. Dr. Weeks.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the governing board, members of the audience, thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you all for watching at home. Tonight is our STAR Award. STAR is Special Thanks and Recognition Awards. And tonight we have two campuses that we're celebrating, Capital, Edison. I'd like for the governing board members to meet me on the floor, and I'd like for Mr. O to help me out this evening.
Okay, so, sorry.
You're gonna maybe want to stand here. So we can see you.
So our first Star Award winner is Miss Zaida Ray. Come on up. She is our Assistant Office Manager at Capital. Zaida does so much for Capital School and loves engaging with our students. She always has a positive attitude and is willing to help with anything. Some of the many words used to describe Zaida are thoughtful, determined, creative, happy, helpful, and funny. And our second star winner is Miss Nicole Freed. Miss Freed is one of our second grade teachers at Capital. And Nicole always goes above and beyond to meet all the needs of her students and is always finding new ways to keep them engaged. She teaches the whole child and not just academics. And she works hard to build and maintain relationships with her students. She is always willing to offer support and lend a hand, as well as take on any role that benefits the students. Some of the words that describe Nicole are reliable, respectful, approachable, consistent, and empathetic.
Take a quick picture, but can I have you maybe just alternate just a few and so we can all sit a little closer? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. O. Another round of applause for our Capital team. Next is Edison. Our first Star Award winner at Edison is Marciela Rodriguez. Marciela, are you here this evening? Well, we're going to talk about her anyway. Marciela is a dedicated and hard worker who loves her students and wants the best for them. She's a great assistant to her teacher and coworkers as well. She is well liked and respected by her coworkers and is always willing to help anyone that needs it. She goes the extra mile, and it is always with a smile. The three words used to describe Marciela, a personal care assistant at Edison, are dedicated, loved, and hard worker. And we'll make sure that Marciela gets her Star Award. And our next Star Award winner from Edison is Carolina Grimaldo. Is Carolina here this evening? Okay, we'll make sure that she gets her Star Award. Carolina defines the phrase, putting the students first. No one at Edison more passionately sticks up for our students day to day than Miss G. Whether it be serving the students' needs with social, emotional support, coaching them after school in football, basketball, and softball, or helping students recognize their potential. Ms. Grimaldo, a social worker at Edison, is truly the brightest of Estrellas at Edison. The three words used to describe her are equitable, fierce, and honest. And again, Madam Chair, we'll make sure these star awards get to these folks, these winners. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for participating. And it's always great to start a meeting.
Miss Miriam, FYI, Dr. Diaz is here, so if we could add her to our attendance, I guess. I'm not even too sure what we'd call that, but I do want it to reflect the record appropriately.
I have.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Are we moving on to these parts? Okay, I'll go ahead. Our first recognition this evening is thanks to a partnership with Skate 48, Pedal House Restaurant, and the Rising Phoenix Foundation. 10 outstanding students from Kenilworth School were awarded with brand new custom-made skateboards. The students were selected based on their great character, the positive changes they've made in their homes, community, and school, and are viewed as future leaders and change makers. The students attended the skateboard giveaway on Saturday, March 12th, assembled their custom art design skateboards to take home and enjoy. What a great community partnership that honors students for being positive influences within their community.
28 6th through 8th graders at Paul Lawrence Dunbar School participated in the Digi Girls Conference on February 28th. The girls connected with female leaders in Microsoft, Raytheon Technologies, Pink Think, Aon Corporation to learn about pathways in technology and other careers that empower women to close the gender gap. The participants also had the opportunity to participate in a coding workshop and career panel discussion.
On March 8th, Diane Salazar, principal of Faith North Early Childhood Learning Center and member of the National Association of the Education of Young Children, attended a public policy forum follow-up meeting with Jen Arnold, aide to U.S. Representative Greg Stanton of Congressional District 9, to discuss the child care crisis in Arizona. The discussion focused on continued economic support for child care and preschool as proposed in President Biden's Build Back Better plan. Staffing shortages must be addressed in any legislation, and as much as 84% of child care and preschool centers are facing this challenge. Ms. Salazar was honored to be included with this amazing group of champions for early learning. Thank you, Diane, Principal Salazar.
All right. Our fourth one is that the governing board is working with the Arizona School Board Association, ASBA, to conduct a superintendent search for Phoenix Elementary to fill the very big shoes Dr. Weeks has created, and he's decided to retire at the end of the school year. So ASBA is conducting a survey to gather parent, student, staff, and community input concerning the leadership qualities desired in a superintendent. ASBA and the governing board will use this feedback during the applicant screening and interviewing processes. Please visit our website for a link to complete the online survey. The deadline to complete this survey is April 7th at 12:00 noon. We thank you in advance for helping shape the future leadership of Phoenix Elementary School District. That was tough.
Paul Lawrence Dunbar recently welcomed their first City of Phoenix Head Start preschool class on the PLD campus. There are currently 16 students enrolled, and each student received a bottle of bubbles and welcome note for their first day of school. It's awesome.
Mark your calendars and plan to join us for our 150th anniversary community-wide picnic in the park on Saturday. Is that this Saturday? This Saturday. So today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay. Hance Park from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. But if you volunteer, you need to come a little early. Is that right? Okay. We're on the east side of Margaret T. Hance Park, located at 1200 North First Street. So First Street's over here, 1200 over there. So, okay, all right. This will be a day filled with family fun, exploration, and connecting with the community. We've got lots of fun activities for children, including the SciTech Institute, Robots for Kid to Code from GenTech, circus activities from the Phoenix Youth Circus Arts, dinosaur claws and teeth from fossil crates, Playworks, a Waymo vehicle on display, and much more. How many of you in the audience are participating at the picnic on Saturday in some way or another? Boy, you know, I think almost every hand went up. Thank you very much for that. We also have free COVID vaccinations for anyone 5 years and older, as well as COVID testing. And don't forget to come visit your favorite Phoenix #1 school booth or see performances from all of our schools, plus so much more. Is there a favorite school in the boardroom this evening? I thought there might be. Families are invited to bring a picnic lunch, or food trucks will be available on site for lunch purchases. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday. How about that?
All right, thank you, Dr. Weeks. I think things are really getting real. We're getting very close to June 30th.
We are.
Yikes.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, I will still leave the mic with you because it's time for our superintendent's report, if we've got one. We're going over COVID data today?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about, but that's
Okay.
just the legislators.
Right.
So we won't be talking too much about the legislators today because we want to keep things positive. Another reminder of the picnic on Saturday, and also, Madam Chair, members of the governing board, at the April 11th meeting, the Superintendent Student Leadership Advisory Team will be here in person. They voted to be in person to present their action research project. It's very sophisticated work. I want to thank Dr. Seth Alishire, and I'll thank him again when he's here with the students. I want to thank the students who participated and followed this thing along all the way through. A lot of qualitative research was done with kind of quantitative trending, and you are going to hear student voice, relative to the action research project that they took on. And as everyone knows, or I hope everyone knows, voice is extremely important at Phoenix Elementary. When you have the opportunity to express your voice, you are strongly encouraged to do so. Students are no different. So they'll be here on the 11th. In terms of the legislative,
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
sure.
How many students is that?
So a lot were invited, and the numbers kind of dwindled. And when we get to the April 11th meeting, it's all voluntary. So I would hope to see somewhere around 8 to 10.
I've
Maybe
got a
more.
Quick
We'll see.
question.
Mhm.
So I'm, of course, immediately I look at my calendar, getting nervous. So April 11th, I have our next meeting as the 7th. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, the 7th.
okay,
the
it
7th.
sounds the
Yes.
same. So I just wanted to make sure. Okay, great. That's a wonderful, I'm really looking forward
I
to
think
that.
the
We
11th
haven't
is a
had.
Monday, isn't it, Mr.
It
Trujillo?
is,
Yes,
it is. But I'm excited. We haven't had, many students in the boardroom for quite some time due to the pandemic and everything changing. So I'm really pleased to hear that. So thank you for the extra information.
There's a lot of stuff that we're talking about bringing back. For those of you who may have remembered, Salon des Enfants is making a comeback. And so back to the Alwyn House, student artwork, no John Apatesian, but we still have our relationships and we're still inspired by student art. So it's fantastic stuff. It will be nice to get back to some of the things that we were able to do before the pandemic. And we're trying. In terms of the COVID numbers, Madam Chair, members of the board, the numbers are funky to say the least. Our own Mark Leister, who tracks all of this stuff, warns us that he does not believe we could trust the numbers for this week. There's a lot of empty slots in our zip codes, and our percent positivity rate, for example, went from 16 to, well, let's see, let me make sure I have this right. Went from, went from 3 to 94%. That's kind of a hard number, right, to believe. So we're not convinced that the numbers that we received from the county for this week. Now they went from daily to weekly, and there might be something going on there. But we don't trust the numbers for this week, unfortunately. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Weeks, especially for clarifying that it's the data we receive, not stuff that we've are calculating on our own. It looks like we're at community communications. Ms. Johnson, do we have any electronic community communications? And if so, how many?
We have 12 communications.
Okay. Ms. Bueno, do we have any in person? Okay. All right, Ms. Miriam, whenever you're ready, we are listening.
Okay. Number one, dear board members, my name is Tricia Thomas, and I have been in the district 18 years. 7 of those years, I have pay freezes and pay cuts. I was on the McKeesa committee. It was always stated that if you were rated as an effective or highly effective teacher, that you would receive increases to your base salary. An email stated directly from Jason Hammond on Friday, April 24th, 2015, I quote from the email, the REIL-TNG grant in which we are participating was intentionally designed to reward teachers for their performance. In addition to the performance-based compensation component being added to your base salary for those who met the criteria, administration has worked with McKeesa to secure a grant-funded one-time retention stipend. Teacher contracts have been issued reflecting the PBC component. PBC was being added to our base salary, and our contracts reflected that amount up until the Red for Ed initiative. The governor gave 20% increases, then Human Resource itemized contracts showing that our base salary did not include our performance-based compensation. This is very deceitful and lacks transparency. REIL-TNG grant, also known as TIF4, was designed to reward teachers for their performance and increase their salaries. It was never a temporary increase, and for Dr. Diaz to say it was, well, he is wrong. Plus, contracts prior to Red for Ed included the PBC monies non-itemized. My pay is being cut by thousands of dollars in the face of inflation being out of control. I am a single mom, and you are telling me that my 18 years is only worth a measly few thousand more than a brand new teacher. I would like the board to reconsider these performance-based compensation pay cuts for your veteran teachers who have stuck with you through all the hardships over the years, and to implement a salary schedule. When looking at other district salary schedules such as Alhambra, Cartwright, and Glendale, the salary difference from a new teacher with a BA to a teacher with 18 years and a master's degree is $18,000 difference. Yet our difference is much, much less now. Dedication and experience should be worth something and should matter in education. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Number 2, from Lauren Kutsko, greetings. Thank you for your hard work in the lives of my children's education. We love being part of the community and feel honored to be part of a 150-year-old tradition that will be celebrated this Saturday. We also feel excited to put COVID restrictions behind us so that our kids can begin once again to enjoy so many of the benefits of being in a physical learning environment with their peers that have been taken away since early 2020. I'm writing to ask that the school board follow the recommendations from Shaw leadership to loosen restrictions that began in response to the pandemic, and in particular to make masking optional. Thank you. Number 3, from Ann Lauder. I want to thank the board and Superintendent Weeks for prioritizing student, staff, and community health throughout this pandemic. Despite pressure from those that prioritize individual freedoms over public safety, you have protected us all in the Phoenix L #1 community by implementing policies that, while minorly inconvenient, have allowed safer access to in-person for all students, but particularly our most vulnerable. I have tremendous faith in the professional recommendation that this board is seeking and using to determine our mitigation plan now and in the future. I have spoken to parents, teachers, and staff over the past week, asking folks in our community what they think about keeping the mask mandate in place or making mask wearing optional. Their responses have not been unanimous. That aside, the majority have mentioned the impact on the most vulnerable members of our community, specifically those with fragile health or those who are immunocompromised. And just about everyone I have spoken to is happy to continue wearing masks for the remaining 2 months of the school year. I am not suggesting we implement a permanent mask mandate, but as other countries in Europe are experiencing a surge in a new variant, I want to voice my support if the board votes for continuance of a mask mandate. Proper masking helps us keep students in the classroom and lowers the spread of the virus. When those of us with the privilege of health and choices make decisions to live for the we, our community and society at large is better off. Those are the values I want my children to learn at school, that individual choices have a community impact. And if masking in solidarity with those who are immunocompromised make our school building safer for everyone, my 2 kids have both told me they'd rather wear masks, at least for now. Number 4. I'm writing to share my thoughts on Emerson Preschool making a comeback. Let me begin with saying, please do. Born and raised in the Coronado neighborhood, I attended Emerson from preschool to 6th grade. Mrs. De Ocampo was my preschool teacher and my principal in later years and made a lasting impression. If Miss Roz is still the principal, she was my 6th grade teacher. I remember going to see Nurse Sharon for asthma meds and for a short time, Mr. Pentowski, who also lived in the Coronado hood, taught at Emerson before he was my teacher in North high school years. When I became a lifeguard after high school, I watched his kids grow too. The teachers from Emerson are the ones I remember best. My mom was an active part in my education, field trips, and school events, and I hope to do the same for my kids. I've even maintained my fingerprint clearance card just in case I have to be more involved in their education aside from everything I teach at home. I have a 3-year-old and one on the way who's ready for preschool. She is constantly asking to go to school. My husband and I drove over to Faith North, but the school was closed, so we were only able to look at it. Emerson is a school where I can sit and know where each classroom room is just based off memory. I helped plant trees as a kid that are still growing around Emerson. I even helped bury the time capsule. Memories and friendships made to last my lifetime started at such a young age and right here in my home neighborhood. Plus, it's 2 blocks away. I work full-time from home, so as a mama bear, it's a comfort having my toddler nearby. But I am also a full-time college student, so you can see where my time is important to me. A 2-block walk down Pound Lane is a time saver for sure. We walked over last year because I wasn't aware that the preschool was gone and asked if they were registering. To my surprise, they said my daughter had to be 5 by September to enroll in kindergarten. My daughter won't be 5 until early October 2023, so it leads me to believe she can't enroll in kinder till she's 6. She's already learning to write her letters and numbers. By the time she's old enough for kinder, she will be too advanced for it. When I heard that Emerson was considering bringing back preschool, I did not hesitate to hop on the Coronado message board Facebook post in excitement. Whatever the case, the Coronado neighborhood has grown to become such a strong community. I think adding preschool back to Emerson will help create those lifelong friendships that I was so fortunate to grow through and cherish to this day. I'm sorry, that was from Rachel Brown. Community number 5. This is from Jeff Wright. Greetings, my name is Jeff Wright, and I have 2 children at Shaw Montessori. Thank you for the opportunity to communicate to the board, and thank you for addressing the issue of mandatory masks. It's time to make masking optional and to let families decide. Let's bring back smiles to Phoenix schools. Thank you. Number 6. My name is Paul Wilford. I am a parent of two kids who attend Shaw Montessori, and I'm a teacher at Shaw. I do not want my kids wearing masks to school anymore. My kids do not want to wear masks to school anymore. They have been wearing masks to school every day since the first day of school. They have been doing something every day that makes them physically uncomfortable and something they don't want to do, but they still do it. But now I want to ask some questions. When was it ever okay to put a physical face covering on a person, let alone a child who doesn't want it? Since when do we ignore kids who feel uncomfortable doing something and don't want to do it anymore? Don't we want to encourage kids to speak up for themselves when they feel uncomfortable or are physically bothered by something? Why can't literally thousands and thousands of kids who play and practice sports together every weekend, indoor and outdoor, do so without mask requirements? Why can't those who want to wear masks wear masks and those who don't want to wear masks not wear masks? What are the differences in our neighborhood and our neighboring districts, charter schools, and private schools who don't require mask wearing regarding COVID numbers among students? School is the only place my kids wear masks now. Why? Please make masks optional. Thank you. Number 7. From Candace Norman. Board members, administrators, school officers, and others. My name is Candace Norman, and I am a parent at Shaw Montessori. Please make masks optional and on our campus. Thank you so much for your time and efforts. Number 8. From Candace Bowler. Good evening, board members. My name is Candace Bowler, and I am a parent of a child who attends Shaw. Please stop making our babies wear masks. It is now clear with all the events and people doing everything without masks, we are not in a pandemic. Madison School District released a completely optional mask program that began after spring break. Gilbert School District hasn't been in masks nearly all year and 0 children have died. This is unnecessary and I am sure crippling our children from learning to speak, pronounce, and have correct expressions. Follow suit and stop making our kids suffer. We are not in a state of emergency. It's time to make changes as most everywhere has. If people can go back to casinos, sports events, back to the office, and even doctors' offices, and the million other things without a mask the world has brought back to normal, there is absolutely no reason our children are being forced to wear a mask. If a parent would still like their child to wear a mask, that should be their choice. Parents listening, you have the legal right to get your kids out of a mask. You legally have the right to make your child's medical choices per the Arizona Parental Bill of Rights. It is law. If the school does not change the mitigation plan ASAP, I urge all parents who want the mask off their children to stand up as I have and tell your school to no more. It is your legal right to make medical choices for your kids. It's law. Put the power back into your hands. Questions for the board. Why are our kids still being forced to wear masks? Why are they not allowing parents to opt out when requesting accommodation? Does the board know what the Parental Bill of Rights is and what it gives parents the legal right to make all medical choices for their children? The school rules do not trump state law. Number 9. My name is Nicole Kearns, and I am a parent at Shaw Montessori. Please make masks optional on our campus. Thank you. Number 10. Good evening, board members. My name is Casey Bowler, and I am a parent of a pre-K child who attends Shaw. My 4-year-old has asked on many different occasions to go to a school without masks. Why her friends have to wear masks? It's clearly sad to her that everyone is in masks. I'm sure others feel the same. I know I do. There is no longer a pandemic, and we need to do what is best for our children. Please remove the mask requirement and let the parents make the choice for their own kids. Number 10. Number 11, I'm sorry. Hello, and thank you. Sorry. This is from, I apologize, this isn't a smaller print in my printer. This is from M. Marnie. Hello, and thank you for reaching. I have a few issues I'd like to address. The drop-off line behind Magnet is atrocious. It never fails. I see parents that park their car, get out of their car to help their children out, walk to the gate 2 feet away, then get in their car. Mr. Hansen is always out there and he never reminds these parents this is a drop-off zone. There is no parking allowed, and if so, there is the parking area to do so. These incidences hinder the flow of the drop-off line, which causes other parents to bypass the drop-off line and pull in, causing a cluster. I also see cars parked in the drop-off line when the gate is not open. These parents are literally waiting to see if their children is fine to go on campus. I understand this, but at the same time, you park your car and wait with your child if need be. Which brings me to issue number 2. By now, these students are well aware they are to go straight to their classrooms in the morning. Why can't we have the front gate open for the kids to go through past the playground to their classrooms? Better yet, why can't they mingle in the morning like pre-COVID times instead of waiting outside a locked gate to get to their campus? Why can't this school move forward with normalcy? The front gate being open will certainly bypass the cluster that is happening in the back. You guys don't give these kids much credit. They know what to do during these times. Number 3, mask. Let's lift this mandate. There are districts over the valley lifting the mandate, giving the option to wear them for students, faculty, and visitors. Everywhere in AZ, besides medical offices and hospitals, have lifted the mandate. I take my kids everywhere without a mask, as well as other parents.
Miss Miriam, that was time.
Okay, thank you. Last one, this is from Mr. Barbudo. Good evening, President Trujillo, members of the board, Dr. Weeks, and cabinet. My name is James J. Barbudo, and I'm a 7th, 8th grade English teacher at Edison School, and I currently serve as president of PECTA. Differences will always happen between the association and the district, but when we have the opportunity to work hand in hand in a project, the outcomes tend to benefit all our employees and students. This was evident when it came to the pandemic. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, our district has consistently put the health of our employees and students at the forefront. We stuck our necks out there because we decided that the stand we wanted to take was an important one as we face this deadly virus. The association, thanks to Dr. Diaz, Dr. Weeks, the board, and others for constantly working with the union throughout this process, whether it be navigating the unknown in March of 2020, ensuring that distance learning will be successful while our students were also fed, to rolling out vaccination sites throughout our district boundaries, to transitioning back to in-person learning. All that being said, we're in a different position now when it comes to the pandemic. Although we don't have an official position to take on the discussion of masks, we can inform you that when our members were recently polled, 69% were in favor of moving to a mask optional scenario in our district. If you have any follow-up questions for the association, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you. And that's all the communications.
Thank you, Miss Miriam. And please take your time when the typing is small. We do know that it is difficult to keep going on, and you're always so wonderful with it. So thank you. As a reminder, the board is not able to discuss items that are not specifically on the agenda. So we're not able to take any actions on those, but district staff are aware, and these comments do go in our minutes. So thank you, everybody, for making time to connect with the board and the community. And with that, we're going to move on to our approval of our consent agenda. The consent agenda lists several items for approval by the board in a single motion. The items listed under the consent agenda have gone through the superintendent's cabinet review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public as part of the itemized agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. With that said, do we have any recommendations for the consent agenda as presented this evening? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair. Before we vote, Miriam, you are aware that Dr. Diaz is in the room.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying, Dr. Weeks. So with that, do we have a motion?
Jessica Bueno, so moved.
Thank you.
Raji Carillo, second.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mayor, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Jessica Bueno,
Yes.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Laura Diaz.
Aye.
Thank you. With that, the motion passes. And we can move on to welcoming Dr. Gonzalez to present on our early childhood learning program expansion.
Good evening, President Trujillo, members of the board, our cabinet members, and our viewing public. We know that as we consider the benefits of early childhood, we recognize that a quality learning program is critically important to attracting families to our schools. And so we look forward tonight to sharing with you our strategy for enhancing our early learning program with more developmentally appropriate practices, both in preschool and in kindergarten. We believe that this is a strategy that will help us meet our strategic goals around achievement as well as around increasing enrollment. And as a champion of early learning, we're very pleased to have Ms. Salazar to help lead this effort. And so at this point, I'm going to welcome her up to present our expansion of early learning in Phoenix strategy.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh, that's loud. Oh, thank you. Good evening, Governing Board President Trujillo, governing board members, Dr. Weeks and Dr. Gonzalez. It's absolutely my pleasure to bring to you this update regarding early learning in Phoenix 1. So as we consider what research tells us about early learning, let us also consider what you would want or we would want for our own children in school. We would want our own children to have experiences that invite them to play, to explore and create, be curious as they express themselves. These are critical components of personal development that fosters future academic success. Aside from the obvious immediate benefits of early learning, children who attend preschool are better prepared for kindergarten. They graduate from high school at higher rates. They're more likely to attend college. They have better job prospects as adults. They have fewer interactions with our judicial system. And most importantly, they enjoy better lifelong health. In order to develop a shared understanding of early learning, we must develop a shared vocabulary. And so we have some terms that I'd like to share with you. Early childhood refers to the ages between birth and age 8. Yes, please, that'd be great. Okay. Developmentally appropriate, sorry, I keep forgetting to do it. Sorry. Developmentally appropriate practice considers all of the developmental areas rather than just the content areas. Those developmental domains or developmental areas are social emotional, physical, cognitive, how they approach learning, and linguistic or language. We also want to distinguish the different types of early learning opportunities we have in our district. We have our preschool program, which is our Phoenix 1 administered early childhood program found at Faith North, Shaw, and our other schools. We have Head Start, which is a federally administered early learning program. And we are introducing tonight our community preschool proposal, which would be a tuition-based preschool program with a sliding fee scale. So when we look at the data for student retention over time, this graph shows us that students who enroll with us at preschool or Head Start stay with us over time. The blue represents students with origins in Head Start or preschool, and we can see that that has augmented our enrollment over time, and it has been consistent over time. We even see a slight increase in the around 2018 school year. The vision is to expand early learning opportunities to all of our Phoenix 1 schools to include a preschool or Head Start class and developmentally appropriate kindergarten class at each site. We hope to develop a community preschool program at Emerson Elementary and Magnet Traditional School. We would like to assess community interest in a birth to 3 childcare program, as well as before and after school care for preschool students using a sliding fee scale for service. We need to build capacity in our district leaders to support the developmentally appropriate practices in Phoenix One early learning program. And we also need to consider and develop our EQUIP plan, which is our early childhood quality improvement plan, to reflect the preschool ecosystem in Phoenix One, which would include our City of Phoenix Head Start programs. This vision aligns to our Phoenix One strategic plan goals, as Dr. Gonzalez indicated. It ensures academic access, engagement of students in a research-based learning environment led by well-trained staff, by ensuring enrollment is at capacity, by addressing equitable access and success for each student, but most importantly, by ensuring that students are at the heart of every decision, and students need preschool. This is a triple or quadruple clicker. Okay. So currently we have, these are the offerings that we have for preschool in our district. We have our preschool programs at Faith North, at Shaw Montessori, at Garfield, Herrera, and Kenilworth. We have Head Start classrooms at Hurd, at Capitol, Bethune, Dunbar, new this year. We're super excited about that, as well as Edison Elementary. Our proposal is to add the community preschool or Head Start at Lowell, Head Start at Whittier, and a community preschool programs at Emerson and at Magnet. If we take those 4 new proposed sites away, we see the gaps in the early learning opportunities for our students. This past year, we implemented a transitional kindergarten program at Faith North. If you recall from last year, the transitional kindergarten program has provided developmentally appropriate instruction by a duly certified special education and early childhood teacher. Our special education students who would have likely transitioned to a self-contained setting for kindergarten will now likely transition to a general education setting for first grade. Enrollment of typical students this year was a bit of a challenge because we approved the program later at the end of last year, but we are projected to be at capacity for next year. The transitional program, kindergarten program at Faith North provides a model for developmentally appropriate practice in kindergarten. This is our estimated budget per preschool classroom. Many of these initial costs, furnishing, advertising, technology, can be absorbed through existing funds and that need to be expended as a way to get started. We can also work to find grants to help support sustainability. And as enrollment increases and our students enter our schools better prepared for the K-8 curriculum, we will be able to realize the benefits of this important investment. Here we have 2 samples of fee schedules from Osborne School District and Paradise Valley School Districts. And while we do not yet have a sliding fee schedule developed for Phoenix One, here are just 2 models from the region. We can use Department of Economic Security subsidies programs for families who qualify. Quality First scholarships are available for established programs that have demonstrated the standards outlined in the Quality First assessments. The sliding fee scale will also offset the costs associated with the programs. But we will also work to ensure that the fee schedule does not deter any family from participating. And I am working I have a meeting with a Quality First counselor or coach tomorrow to discuss the sliding fee scale, so we can get more information on what that might look like. So one of the big motivators and impetus for developing our preschool program and the developmentally appropriate practices in those classrooms is the new requirement from ADE to conduct a kindergarten entry assessment that will be coming to us in the 22-23 school year. This assessment provides a snapshot of a child's development. It's used to assess all of the domains of development and school readiness. It's administered at the classroom level by the classroom teacher within the first 45 days of school. It's aligned to Arizona standards. It's valid, it's reliable, and appropriate for use with all children. The goal is to provide teachers a better understanding of each child's progress towards meeting the standards and using the information gathered to impact student success. And understanding what this assessment looks like is a critical part of leader support for developmentally appropriate practice. For our investment in early learning to show the greatest impact, attending to these practices is essential. In addition, it is imperative that teachers have the knowledge and strategies to meet the needs of students identified through the KEA. We understand there's a need to support leadership in developing our early learning programs. In December, all principals responded to an early learning interest survey. 100% of our principals responded positively to the potential expansion of our preschool program. 77% of principals reported having minimal experience with early learning. 61% of principals indicated a need for professional development and developmentally appropriate practice. Principals will be supported over time to not only identify developmentally appropriate practice, but to be able to coach teachers and support staff to meet the needs of our early learners. And finally, we have a proposed timeline. We're looking at over the next 3 years and making these expansions. And this is the current proposed timeline, but and we wanted to share that with you, but we also want to recognize that as the year unfolds, there may be changes to the timeline. So with that, I would love to hear your questions, comments, anything you would like to share.
Can we go back to the budget?
Absolutely.
Can we go to the fees?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So for the furnishings, we reached out to our partners at Lakeshore Learning, and they have a really amazing package that I did a cost analysis, and my figure was very similar to this. But they have a package that meets the Quality First standards for the classroom environment. So when Quality First has 2 ways that they assess classrooms. And the first is called the environmental rating scales. And what Lakeshore has done is that they've put together a package that will meet that criteria. And it's ready to go, it's in an order, and that's the cost. The advertising is for pamphlets, mailers. Linda could tell us a little bit more, but social media advertisements, advertising our preschool program. Technology, we are currently have one-to-one iPads in our preschool program, and this would allow us to continue with that across those new classrooms. We have our preschool staff. Each class would be staffed with a certified early childhood educator, as well as an instructional assistant, as well as in order to accommodate these changes, extra support at Faith North of an IEIS, which Faith North does not have. The curriculum is through Creative Curriculum, and that includes the assessment system that we use in the preschool program. And consumables are, things like paper, glue, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. For the technology, you said for pre-K or any of those leveled classes, that would be new purchases for new iPads, right? Not the Chromebooks that we already purchased.
Yeah, and I kind of think that is a little bit off.
Okay.
I'd have to check with Damon or Miguel, but the idea there is the iPads and the charging stations for each child.
Okay. And then for the total, what are the financial resources? What are the buckets of funding that are going to make up that total?
Can you ask your question?
What
again?
are the buckets of financial resources that are going to make up that total 156,000 again?
Thanks, team. Yeah.
Good evening, guys. So at this point, first of all, let me just commend Ms. Salazar here for everything she does on a daily basis, and she does not take no for an answer ever. So she has vetted this out pretty well. Miguel, our new budget manager who's sitting in the back there, has worked with her very well to get to this point. And so right now, what we're seeking is kind of your guys' input to tell us that she's on the right path and this is where we want to go. And then as we're working through the budget process this year and going through the budget process for, I should say, for next year's fiscal year, as we work through it, identifying the funds. We do know that we have the funds to do the program. We have not identified the specific buckets that they will come out of, mainly because we want to get feedback and make sure that something's not going to change before we identify and earmark those. But this is a program that supports our enrollment, supports kids coming into the district and going through the district, and we have an awesome preschool. So we will figure out a way to make it and then present the district recommendation on funding for you guys.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, those are just questions to think about. And definitely when you're doing that, if anything, it has to be cut or moved around. Let us know what is being moved around or what is being cut to make up that. But yeah, I echo what Damien said perfectly. I think this is a brilliant idea. Something that addresses a challenge that we have had to deal with, and that is going to continue to be a challenge. So this is music to my ears, especially bringing much needed funding into our school and much needed equitable access to students who need that learning, to parents who need that opportunity, especially when they have to go to work. So I just want to say thank you too.
Thank you.
Can we go to the map of what the current and future plan is for? Oh, can you go over that one? Yeah, thank you. Can you go over what we currently have?
Sure. So if you look at the map, the PK are our current preschool classrooms, and we have at Faith North, we have 8 preschool classrooms. At Shaw, I'm not sure how many classrooms they have, but they have several. Garfield, we have 1 preschool classroom. Herrera, we have 2 dual language preschool classrooms. And at Kenilworth, we have 1 preschool classroom. And if you look at the purple, those are Head Start classrooms. And so we have Hurd, Capital, Bethune, Dunbar, and Edison. And I believe that Capital and Edison and Bethune have 2 classrooms, 2 Head Start classrooms at those campuses.
Okay.
And when we look at those campuses that have either Head Start or preschool on their campus, they typically enroll 2 classes of kindergarten, if not more. And so when we don't have preschool classroom, like at Emerson, there's typically 1 kindergarten class. So we really do see the impact on enrollment in conversation with principals. During COVID, we reduced our preschool classrooms by 1 at Garfield and by 1 at Kenilworth because of enrollment as well as staffing issues. Finding qualified early childhood educators can be a challenge. And so with that, those schools saw a reduction in their enrollment for kindergarten. So the proposal is to add a Head Start classroom at Lowell. I'm working with City of Phoenix, Booker T. Washington Head Start, as well as at Whittier. And then for next year, we would like to introduce a community-based preschool at Emerson and at Magnet. And that would cover all of our campuses. Obviously, the timeline, it will have to be adjusted based on staffing, based on budget. But this is the vision that we would like to see moving forward so that all of our children have access to a high quality early childhood program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a few questions. I am absolutely thrilled to see this. I feel like I've been that like pest the last several years asking for this. So great to see it come into action. So I just was wondering why we decided to do the tuition at Emerson specifically, and why we are not doing the tuition at Shaw.
That's a great question. I can't speak to the reasoning behind not doing it at Shaw, but I can say that for Emerson, we thought that the neighborhood demographic could support that programming. We also wanted to make sure that we had an access on the east side of our district and the west side of our district. And so that's why we were thinking of Emerson and at Magnet. The other thing, we looked at those schools that didn't currently have a program. And I don't know if Dr. Gonzalez would like to speak to the question about Shaw.
Board Member Diaz, at this point in time, we didn't consider Shaw strictly because they already have an existing program, and we thought the disruption could be detrimental until we have time to look into what the sliding fee scale looks like, to get community input and to understand what the market would actually bear should we institute something like that.
That totally makes sense. Both of those scenarios, I would say, absolutely agree that, we don't want to disrupt anything that's there. We certainly don't want to tell our families who've been sending their kids there that, we're going to change things up on you significantly. So like it or get out. But in kind of like thinking in the same way that we're thinking about Emerson in terms of like the clientele that lives in that neighborhood, I'm going to guess, anecdotally speaking, that the client at Shaw could absolutely afford tuition. So I 100% would like to see Shaw in this plan for tuition. And I know that it takes time to get input, but if we can accelerate that timeline, I know that community is pretty responsive. And, at the end of the day, we want all of our families to stay with us. And if we have some families that are not in favor of the tuition base, then there are going to be other families who still want to take this opportunity. And I think that we can still be competitive with other Montessoris, right? A private Montessori is an arm and a leg, right? And we don't have to charge as much, but I think it's imperative that we are implementing a tuition scale at Shaw. And I don't know if my board members agree with me or not, but
I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Of course, not picking on Shaw. I'm just saying, like, I know people could probably afford it. And then these two, I don't expect you to have the answers right now. So if you wanted to just send us a board update, like feel free to do that. But do we know what the capacity is going to be in total once these are established?
So we think that we try to keep our classrooms, the preschool classrooms under 20 for our
Okay,
general education. So with the 4, it would be 80 additional students.
okay, so 80 students. And then do we know, this is a tougher one. Do we know about how many 3 to 6-year-olds live in the boundaries and then 0 to 6?
That's a great question. And it's funny that you asked that. City of Phoenix does a demographic study every year for Head Start. And I just reached out to Patricia Kirkland at City of Phoenix to get that data. It has not been published yet. They did their needs assessment in the fall. But she said as soon as it's public knowledge and as soon as she has access to it, she would share that with me. I do not know what that data is, but it's something I could provide in an update for you.
Yeah, that would be great because I mean, if we're seeing that within our boundaries, we have, several hundred potential pre-K students, then I think as a district and as a board, we should make it a priority to find the funding to open additional classrooms because these kiddos really need that structure. And I mean, as a mom to a 7-month-old and a 3.5-year-old, I am passionate about, this is literally my passion. So,
Mine too.
yeah, I know. So that is something I will be waiting for, and hopefully we can find a way to get these kids that access.
Absolutely. And, I'm also working with City of Phoenix Head Start, Booker T. Washington Head Start, and they are very interested in adding additional Head Start classes. Head Start is a little bit different from what we do in our preschool program, but it also is a high quality program. It's regulated by the federal government, and it provides that meaningful learning for our early learners just as much. And they're very interested in moving more classrooms into our district.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Dr. Diaz. I do know this is something you've been championing since we were both elected. So I'm really glad to see this come up as well. And definitely support. And I'm excited about your great questions. I have a few more questions, and
Absolutely.
I am a Head Start and pre-K parent. Being a teen mom, that was really, at the time, I didn't realize how important and how lucky I was that my kids were able to attend. But in retrospect, my son wouldn't be where he's at, I don't think, if we didn't have those Head Start teachers in place, keeping me in line and also like setting me up for success when it came to kindergarten and everything that goes on. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to hear about this, but may I please, I'd also like to ask that the budget information that's in here, could we get that in the board update for what Dr. Diaz requested as well? But I would like a reminder on what a typical preschool day looks like. If it is different than Head Start, like, are we talking 4 hours, 2 hours? I don't remember.
The schedule of the day is very similar. I think the biggest difference between Head Start and our district preschool program is the qualifications of the teacher.
Okay.
So our district teachers are all early childhood certified. And at Faith North in particular, our teachers, we have 7 of our 8 teachers there are duly certified special education and early childhood. And that gives them a real toolbox of strategies in working with each unique learner. Children develop at very different rates. They have different strengths. And when you have someone who's able to recognize those strengths in those areas that they may need some support, as you do with our duly certified teachers, you have amazing outcomes for students, all students, not just our students with special needs, but for all of our students. And I think the biggest thing too, coming out of the pandemic, we're seeing more delays, sometimes with our students, social emotional and linguistic. So it's really critical right now that we are providing that level of support for those individual needs.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, everything with the pandemic has just been really hard on families. So I think having this come up would be a great resource for them. I'm just in my head trying to think of, wrap my head around the cost and everything. Is it a half day? Is it 6 hours a day? I remember the schedule being different, but all my kids are so old, I don't remember what that looks like.
Yeah, so it's a shorter day for our young learners. Most of our Head Start programs are at 6 hours. Our
Okay.
district preschool programs at 4.5 hours. So that's a little bit of a difference, but it depends on which school. Each school has their own unique schedule
Got it.
for Head Start.
And-
Preschool is 9 to 1:30 across the district, but
Okay.
Head Starts, they have different starting and ending
Yeah,
times.
that part I do remember. I think that's why I'm extra confused,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
so would this be the same model then that we're expecting? in-
As of right now,
Okay.
yes.
Just-
But
that's what I was
we
wondering.
do have a thought to assess the need, and I've informally assessed it with my Faith North parents, but to have before and after school care available for our, on a sliding scale as well, for our students at Faith North and potentially at our other preschool campuses.
Those were my only questions I had. Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Salazar, for this wonderful presentation, and Dr. Gonzalez for all your work. And thank you. And I just wanted to add that if we could, when the time is appropriate, that the board approve what that advertising plan would look like. That's my only request.
Absolutely. And we do have all of these costs broken down, but we thought we would just share the overall view, but we could definitely give that to you in a board update.
And I'm sorry, just for clarification, I would want to
Absolutely.
see what the implementation is of that advertising.
Will do. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes, great questions. Thank you for bringing those up. That is a super important part of connecting with the community. So I don't have any other questions. And thanks for jumping in to team up on that PowerPoint so that way Ms.
Yeah,
Gonzalez could
absolutely.
stay focused on our questions and everything. It's always so helpful to have an ally nearby. So thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. But other than that, I don't have any other questions.
I appreciate those questions
Yeah.
and I appreciate your feedback, and we'll look forward to coming back to the board with an update.
Wonderful. There is
Thank
no
you.
decision on this, only a discussion this evening, everyone. So with that, we will move on to our next item. Don't know what it is. F2, to discuss our annual audit for fiscal year 2021. Welcome, Mr. Norris.
Good evening again. Do you want to do an introduction? Since Martine's not here?
Madam Chair, members of the governing board, administration recommends the governing board accept and approve the results of the fiscal year 2021 annual audit prepared by Dobridge and Company. You changed your name. Oh, okay, all right. Mr. Norris will present, accompanied as necessary by the team. Damon, did you want to introduce your team support tonight?
Yes, I do, while we wait for technical. So actually, he wasn't expecting this, but I was going to call him up anyway. I want to bring up Miguel Descoto. He is our new budget manager here for the PESD district. I kind of introduced him the last time, but wanted to introduce him. He has done a lot of great work in just about, what's it been, a month? Not even a month? Little over a month and a half. Little over a month and a half. So I'll turn over the mic to him so he can give you a little bit of background. I put him on the spot, so if he hits me, that's why, but I'll give you the mic here so you can.
Welcome,
do a
welcome.
quick introduction.
Good evening, board. couple of weeks. So I've been out of the country for a couple of years, about 30. And I just recently came back to the United States and had the opportunity to join the district. And of course, at once, grabbed that opportunity. Although my family members have always been in the industry of education, one here in Phoenix, and then two others in California, my parents, uncles, and aunts. So basically, I was the last one to join this type of industry. My background has always been commercial, commodities, and also industrial. So I thought that with this opportunity, what we could do together was to bring kind of what I've learned during the years, see how I can implement strategies, budgeting, financial services, financial reporting to the district. But obviously, the question was, how does someone with a background in finance get involved in education? So I was very appreciative that I was invited to join the finance team here at Phoenix One. And up until now, collaborating with a couple of our fellow members here from the get-go. So it's been very productive in a very short time period, but hopefully we can continue contributing and grow together. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot tonight. All right, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, Dr. Weeks, I want to present to you the annual audit. Some of you may be asking yourself why I'm up here talking about an audit and if it's a bad thing or a good thing. And so I'm going to try to go through as quickly as possible a brief education of what an audit is, why I'm here, and what your role is according to the state legislature now, and try to help you guys get through this process as well as me. I do want to say we have Nicole Wheatcraft as well. She's with Dobridge, as you guys heard earlier. She's our fantastic auditor and keeps me on my toes and the rest of my team on our toes, and tries to make sure that we're doing everything within the boundaries that we have to stay into. So without further ado, and no eye charts tonight. That's the positive thing. So first starters, the what and why of an annual audit. So if you have an adopted budget of $2 million or more in the maintenance and operation fund, we're required to do an annual audit every year. If you don't have $2 million, which are very small rural school districts, you're required to still do one, but it's a biannual. And they can elect to do them if they so choose every single year if they want to. We're audited against the Uniform System of Financial Records, also referred to as the USFR, and most commonly referred to as the Usfr from financial people, because this is the rule book. This is the rules that we've got to play by. This is for Arizona school districts. The USFR contains all of our rules and requirements. There are, important side note, there are two separate USFRs. So if you ever do go searching the Auditor General's website, make sure you're on the one for school districts, because the one for charter schools is vastly different than the one for school districts. So the audit's a very comprehensive and lengthy review of our financial operations and our day-to-day operations. Truly, the main objective is to make sure all of our key stakeholders, from bond investors to our school board, to our directors, to our students, to everybody that is a stakeholder in the district here, knows what we're doing and knows that we're doing it right. So it's a vote of confidence from the auditors to us. And this can affect everything from bond rating. So when we go out to bond, or when we come before you guys potentially this year or future years, our audits will be taken in effect by the auditing or the bond rating parties. And that could potentially tell what our bond rating will be for the future. They really do look at everything. They're very comprehensive. So they look at everything all the way from enrollment all the way to financial statements. And so you'll see the reason why they look at enrollment is because that's how we get paid. So it all equates back to financials. Continuing with the what's and the whys, it's got three major components of the annual audit. The first one is the comprehensive annual financial report, which is also known as the CAFR. This includes our audited financial statements for the previous year. And that's the important thing. It's always looking backwards. It's never totally looking forward because we only audit previous years. We don't audit the current year. It contains three different areas, the introductory section, which contains all of the information. This is what you'll see. Linda puts together a lot of this information for the district. It's all the background on the district, why we're here, organizational, org charts, and so forth. The financial section, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's really financials and contains the auditor's opinion on the financial statements that we provide. And it's a statistical section, which is really the nuts and bolts of what you guys see me bring here, which are the charts and graphs that come through. The next part is a single audit reporting package, and this contains a report over the internal controls and financial reporting on compliance. So you hear my department always talking and Monique always talking about compliance, and this is one area that they really look at the compliance. And the last section is the USFR compliance questionnaire. And this has grown over the years, and I think it is 40 something, 60 something pages long in cases. And so I have given to you guys a draft copy that Miriam provided that summarizes the findings in 9 key bullet points versus having to search through the 40 something pages that are there. So that is what the audit is and what the audit consists of. The audit timeline, thank you, COVID, because COVID kind of played with everything, of course, but this is a typical audit timeline. So in May and June, we'll do a kickoff. That's when the auditors will come out here to the school. We'll meet with them, potentially give them more or start giving them documentation. They're going to ask for certain things that they're looking for and that they're required to look for. I should add that not only are we getting audited, but after the auditors audit us, they get audited by the Auditor General. So like it's audit after audit after audit to make sure everybody's telling the truth. So they have to do their job and they want to make sure that they're correct and have all the valid information. June through September, the business office in the school district will close out the previous year's financials. So that'll be your encumbrance period of everything that falls into the new year, closing out POs and then starting to roll over to the new school year. In September and October, depending on timing with our auditing firm, they'll either start requesting more documentation or they'll come back out and be on site with us and start going through documents. They take over one of our boardrooms and it is a paper heaven, to be honest with you. In October through March, they finish off. So over the Christmas break, while we're all enjoying holidays, they're crunching the numbers and working on everything and getting all the reports done for us, which is greatly appreciated. The final reports are generated and those usually come out anywhere, depending on the school size, between January, February, March. This year, a little bit later, thanks to COVID. So the good news, which this is all good news, by the way. The good news is, and I cannot take credit for this, I would be sorely sad or really upset if I didn't recognize somebody. Janice Durham, who was in my previous position, who is now with Usfr in our department. She ran this department. These awards are because of her hard work. I came in, I get the audit report and get to come up here and tell you guys about them, but this is because of her hard work and the department's hard work. So the district is going to be awarded and expects to be awarded the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, awarded from ASBO, or the Association of School Business Officials International. We've been recognized for this over 10 years. And then we also are expecting to be awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. And those are based off of recommendations from our auditors, as well as the review of our audit package as well. So they get to see what we've done and understand where we're coming from. So in order to be awarded these certificates or awards, the district published an easily readable and efficiently organized comprehensive annual financial report. I stole that just from the award submission place because we have to submit to them all the numbers plus the auditor's recommendations that we get. They review everything and then award us the certificates, like I said, for the last 10 years, which is awesome. This year, we did have 9 findings. I should stress that findings are very common and very, I will say, not the right word. I will say they are worrisome, but not worrisome at the same time. These are findings that would be a conversation between an associate and a manager, for example, of a mistake that was found. These are not material deficiencies. These are not deficiencies in any way. There's other school districts that get deficiencies, and some of these deficiencies can be for fraud or materialist items that are out there. And ours are simple mistakes that have happened and been identified. So we, as a finance department, will work with the departments that are involved, if there's other departments or ourselves, and work on corrective actions to make sure that they don't happen again, potentially in the future. So we are working with our auditors where needed. We're also coordinating with different departments. So we had findings, as you guys saw, under student enrollment and attendance. And so we'll work to identify the reason for that with MIS and student services, and then find out how we can try to fix that going forward, and put some sort of process in place so that way that's not an issue moving forward. And so why I'm here tonight is last year in 2021, the state passed House Bill 2018, which now requires the school boards to publicly accept the audit via roll call vote. Very important that it has to be a roll call vote as well. And so district staff is recommending to the board to approve the financial audit package as submitted. And then we can then upload these to the different portals that they need to be uploaded. And with the school district will be in compliance with all state laws for this year. I do want to say more to Janice Durham again, but also to Dobridge and Company, as well as Heinfeld Meach, and then the Phoenix Elementary staff. This goes without saying. I asked for, and my team asked for, and Janice's team at the time asked for so much paperwork and so many requests that it can be overbearing at times to get that information while still continuing operations and taking care of the kids and building preschools and doing all the things. So our staff here is amazing. They don't complain. They just give us the data that we need and the paperwork that we need, and continue to supply us with the stuff. So our staff and the auditing staff and our consultants have been amazing this year. So I wanted to make sure to give them a special thank you. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions that you guys may have, and Ms. Wheatcroft will be here as well if I don't know the answer. If I did that well with no questions, this is awesome.
I just have one question.
Ask away.
So in terms of the findings, you mentioned that findings are not necessarily deficiencies. So did we have any deficiencies?
We did not have any deficiencies. This, for all intents and purposes, is a clean celebratory audit. Findings are going to be, for example, one of them was a journal entry that was done, caught, corrected, but is still a journal entry that was done incorrectly and needs to be identified. But it was fixed. So those are minor issues that come up. Major deficiencies would be something like, I was talking about this before and now it's in my head, but like the superintendent does something, not our superintendent by any means, but our superintendent commits fraud and it's found, that would be a material deficiency. And then you would have much more than just me and Ms. Wheatcroft here to talk. Yeah, if you'd like.
So what you have is, with the Usfr, it is a compliance questionnaire. Beyond that, you have your financial statement audit, and then your single audit. So that's all your federal programs, which you're required to have because you have over $750,000 of federal expenditures a year at your district. So with that, you have material weaknesses, which is material misstatements, which could materially say your financials are misstated, or major compliance issues in terms of, we say, out of 50 kids we looked at in your national school lunch program, 20% of them were miscategorized, or even really even 5%, we would say that's material federal fine. Financial statement level would be something like you've gone over budget M&O, you've gone over your cash in one-year cash controlled funds, or you're lacking internal controls in terms of something like segregation of duties in your payroll, accounts payable, other items. The USFR compliance questionnaire is this 30-40 page document, which is, like I said, it's were there credit card interestees during this fiscal year, and very, very, very detailed items. Were enrollment forms turned in within 5 days. All important things, but they're not to the level of a financial statement level, material weakness, significant deficiency.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm
Have
waiting
any
for your
other-
questions.
I didn't have any only because this 180 page document looked very, not intimidating, but I knew I could rely on you giving us what we actually needed to discuss and approve this evening to move forward. And you've been so great at answering all of our questions as we go and as we learn together. So I'm confident in that process still. So I don't have any other questions this evening.
Awesome.
Dr. Weeks?
I appreciate the board's trust. I truly do, for this and for everything else that we bring. It's awesome to have a board that trusts the staff of the school district. So I do appreciate that.
I do hope Miss Janice is doing well, but I would, I guess, want to echo that we've been doing business with this company for many years. Do we know how long we've been working together? I know
With-
the name change.
Yeah, with Doveridge, it's been 7 years.
Nice.
Yeah, 7.
Bless you.
Yeah. So and we just signed a intent to renew for another year. So we'll be
That's
bringing
right.
that back to you guys here, I think, in April, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Just congratulations on finishing this very complicated, thorough, and needed audit, just so that we can be transparent with our community on how we're being transparent and accountable and successful stewards of their taxpayer dollars. So I want to say thank you to this entire district and you and Janice for leading that way, and your entire team, and to receive certificates of excellence and certificates of achievements for this audit is something to commend the team, past and present, for, and is something that we'll continue to look for, and I commend the superintendent also for having a team that is competent and just overly competent to be able to pull that off. And so we hope that will continue to. So thank you, Dr. Weeks, and to the entire team. And it just allows us to continue having trust in our staff, continuing putting in faith in our staff and the financial resources that we have to address the challenges that that are mentioned in this article, this audit too, like student enrollment, all that stuff that was mentioned in the audit. Yeah, I like to read, so I read it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would also like just to congratulate you on all your work and thank you for an awesome team. My question is this the typical timeline that we receive this type of audit?
Yes and no, I guess the new typical. So it should be somewhere between the end of February and early March. Unfortunately, there were several key members of our team and Nicole's team as well that ended up with COVID, so we had a little bit pushback on it. Ideally, we'd like to bring this to you in early March or late February, because if there are questions, and that is one thing I should add, with these, they provide us drafts. So we're able to go back and forth and say, hey, you missed this, or we think you missed this, or here's the documentation that we forgot to give you. And so they may start off with a list of like 50 things, and we whittle it down to 9 or 20 or 30, and then keep going from there. So typically it should be late February, early March is what we're aiming for you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question, Ms. Bueno. Thank you. yeah, I don't have any more questions. I just know how over the last 3+ years, trying to just stay on the same page with all the grants we have coming in, all of that. I don't even know if this is the right word, but fiduciary responsibility, like it, I know it's a lot, so I do appreciate being able to have this trust with the staff, so we are guided and holding hands through the process. So I know this isn't easy. I know it takes so much, and it's a lot to keep from federal, state, local donations, sponsors. I'm sure it's just, it's overwhelming just to think about it. So I leave it to the experts. Do we have well, first of all, thank you, Damon, Miguel, Dobridge and Co. and teams, everybody. Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 annual audit prepared by Dobridge and Company?
Jessica Bueno, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Roger Carrillo, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, Miss Miriam, may we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Laura Diaz.
Aye.
Thank you all. With that, the motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. It
Nice work.
looks- Yes, very nice work. It looks like we can move on to item H1, board reports and requests.
I have a request. So our state leader has announced, as we all know, an initiative called, it's basically a summer camp. but
It's
fast
the
track or-
AZ On Track
Thank
Summer
you.
Camp.
AZ On Track Summer Camp, in which there is a significant amount of funding, and I know that as a district, we're already on top of seeking out this opportunity. So I would just like, if that would be a board report or an update on how we're exploring to tap into these financial resources and bring this opportunity to our students. And what kind of offerings we're going to provide to the community for this. So again, I think it would probably be board report, probably best to be a board report, since the community would, it would serve the community to just, for this information to be communicated to them. Thank you.
I have a board report. So I just wanted to formally announce that this will be my last year on the board. And I just wanted to say that it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to serve my community. I've just grown so much as a person, and I would love to run again for another year, but being a mama to 2 little guys and working full time, I want to just make sure that we have somebody here who can devote the time that this district needs to just, make it the best. And I don't want to take up a seat if I know that there is somebody here who can give it 100%, but you won't, get rid of me because I'm still going to be around and give my input. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm so glad that you all are here still. And I have full faith that, our community is in great hands. So.
What can you follow up with that? I was like a little upset earlier, gonna get extra emotional just thinking about it. So any other board reports, team? Thank you very much, Dr. Diaz, for everything. Been a mentor nonstop, so it's been a great ride with you. I'm sure we'll have discussions about that, but moving on, my only request would be to somehow request a follow-up from a social work incident I received an email about, so I just wanted to formally ask for a board update on that and what we've got going on to, I guess, mitigate this in the future. I know this is definitely something we've been working on with our hearing officers, our new policies, but I guess I want to definitely participate and help out in any way I can to make sure we, for lack of a better word, just really have this as a tight structured ship. So that's my only request. And hearing no other ones, let's move on to item H2, future agenda items. Do we have any?
Yes, I would like to add for our next agenda, if we can add membership to the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, known as NALEO. And then the second item is to approve travel to the 39th Annual Conference for NALEO to be held in Chicago from June 23rd through the 25th of this year.
Sorry for the delay. Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Bueno. I was not fully aware of that conference, so I'm really glad you brought that up. Ms. Miriam, definitely let us know what information you need. I would like to also participate in that conference. Any other future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to item I, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting this evening?
Reggie, a motion to adjourn.
Jessica Bueno, second.
Thank you very much. May we please have a roll call vote, Ms. Miriam?
Yes. Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Jessica Bueno,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Elora Diaz.
Aye.
Thank you very kindly. With that, we will adjourn at 7:55 PM this evening. Thank you all very much for participating with us, for all your hard work as always. Our next meeting will be April 7th. And good night. Have a great rest of your week. That's right.